welcome to episode 45 of the Knotted Knits podcast. My name is Amy, and this is my channel where in a perfect world I come to you weekly and update you on the projects and progress that I am making on my knitting adventure. But life was incredibly busy during the month of May, which I anticipated, and I haven't been able to sit down and record a podcast until now. So if you are a new viewer, hello and welcome to my fiber journey. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. I apologize for the delay in getting an episode out to you, but here we are. Today is June 10th. And it will be an episode where we kind of catch up with each other and I can update you on what I have finished. I have quite a few finished projects, and I have 2 projects on the needles currently. You can find me on Instagram as the_knotted_knitter, and that is where I share a look behind the scenes of how I incorporate all of the knitting adventures in my day-to-day life. That's all that I have for the administrative side of things, so I am going to jump right in with the projects that I have finished since I've last recorded. The first project is going to be a Musselburgh hat, which is a pattern designed by Ysolda Teague. It is a very popular pattern, one that I personally have knit numerous times, but I've never knit a baby version before. So this hat is knit using 2 20-gram minis from Emily of Fangirl Fibers. And when I showed this to you last, I was somewhere in the black and white speckled, but I used each 20 gram in its entirety. I did win the game of yarn chicken. The hat is done. I knit the smallest size for my granddaughter, who should be arriving any day now, and I'm happy to have this project done. If you've never seen the Musselburgh hat before, you do fold one side in on itself, so it is 2 hats in one. So we have one very black and white speckled version, and then we have a pink and gray and black solid version. The top of this did some really cool pulling. If I were to knit this again using these 2 exact yarns, I would have alternated these 2 colors rather than kept them separate, just to break up all of the pulling. Although I really like how it looks, I think the top here where I was working the increases looks so much better. I do still need to block this hat. It's finally getting warmer here in Pennsylvania, although it's been very rainy. I would still like to give this a little block. I think the width on it is perfectly fine, but I would like it to grow in length maybe just a little bit more. So that is the first finished project. The second finished project is a pattern that I have test knit for Rachel of the Pearls and Polish podcast. She put out a call for people to test her new toe up Flegel Heel sock pattern, and I decided to do that. She accepted me as one of her test knitters, and we had fun working through the pattern with her. I have been trying to use some scrap yarn recently, and I pulled out what I had left over from my Dragon Hoard yarn Wicked Mystery Skein set that Tristan dyed. So this was the main color, and this was one of the 2 contrasting colors. So you have already seen these yarns on my podcast. Oh, there was the third. I did use the third color. So it was these 3 colors. And my finished pair of socks looks like this. So typically I knit my socks on US 0 9-inch circular needles, cuff down. So starting with the cuff and working down. However, this pattern is a toe up pattern. So you cast on for your toe and you follow the pattern. I'm not going to give it away only because I don't know if Rachel plans on making this a paid for pattern or a free pattern, but you follow the pattern and there are increases that are worked along the sock and then a Flegel heel. So you actually don't see it really well because it is in the main color, but there's a line here and you get this shape here is your Flegel heel. I really enjoyed this pattern. I thought it was very, very well written. I did 60 rows for the leg, 15 rows for the cuff, and these were knit to fit my foot, which is a US size 7.5, 8 women's shoe. I really enjoyed knitting this pattern. It was great to use up, and although I didn't use every bit, and I do still have leftovers, it was a really great way to use the yarn that I had in stash without worrying that I was going to run out. I have been looking at my stash and I have quite a few 50-gram skeins that I'm excited to use this pattern for and know that I'm not going to run out of yarn. So if you would like to try the pattern, Rachel will be releasing it soon as she has been having some fun adventures of her own this summer and just put out a new episode this week. So stay tuned. I will link her channel and where you can find her to get more information about the pattern release in the show notes below. The third project that I have finished is using yarn from Cozy Cauldron Fiber in their Autumn Court colorway. I don't think this is available anymore, but that is the scrap that I have left over. And I knit a pair of traditional vanilla socks, cuff down, again, US 0 9-inch circular knitting needles over 60 stitches, and this was knit with a heel flap and gussets. Rounded toe. I didn't change colors for this at all. I just loved it. I was feeling very autumnal and fall when I was working on this pair of socks, and that probably had to do with the fact that it had been nothing but cold, gray, and rainy in Pennsylvania during a good bit of May. Now I'm going to put this sock here and we can sort of see the difference just a little bit, and this was hopefully a helpful comparison since both socks are knit in the same color for the foot. There isn't a contrast heel color. Yes, this sock has a contrast heel and toe and cuff. This sock does not. What we're looking at here is our differences in heels. So with your, to say, traditional heel flap and gusset, you work down, you work over your heel flap, you work your heel flap, you work your gusset decreases, and your foot. For the Flegel heel, you work increases, and then you work your heel. So your Flegel heel has a little bit more of a triangular look to it, of how it sits on your foot, where your heel flap and gusset, it's a little bit more of a rectangle. It just looks, to me, it looks slightly different. So hopefully you can see the difference in the visual comparison of the two different heel flaps. Do I prefer one over the other? Right now, I'm still a traditional vanilla cuff down kind of gal, only because I don't have this Flegel Heel pattern memorized. I know what I need to do from here to about here. And this point, when I actually begin to work the turn of the heel, is where I need to reference the pattern. So again, this is going to be a pattern that I work out my own method and work on memorizing it this summer, just to help have something new in my knitting arsenal. I have this vanilla memorized. I know I need this many stitches, this many rows, this for my heel flap, and work on down. So this part here, working the Flegel heel, is where I need to learn and memorize all of these stitches, and then I know what to do from there on up. I do rate this pattern as a beginner pattern. If you are someone who is new and looking to knit socks, I think a Flegel heel is a fantastic way to go. I have knit this type of heel before. It fits well, and the pattern that Rachel is putting out will have the 3 standard stitch counts of 56, 64, and 72. So there will be that small, medium, large sock size to choose from. I've not been doing a good job at keeping count of how many socks I've knit this year. I'll update that on the next episode. The final project is one that I have had done for quite some time. It is too warm today to put on, but I do want to show that my Popham sweater, which was designed by Alicia Plummer, is finished. This is a sweater that you all have watched me knit earlier this year. It is a DK weight top down sweater knit using a DK weight yarn, and mine is finished. This pattern comes in 2 different versions. You can knit a button band, and it also comes with the option and design feature of knitting the sweater with a zipper. Now, I am not a sewist, so I am not confident in my ability to insert a zipper, so I went with the button option. And I am so very happy with how it looks. I chose some fun brown buttons. They are brown. They're picking up a little purple on the camera, but a couple of different shades of brown, which I thought matched the tweed yarn beautifully. It is a drop shoulder sweater that is just that wardrobe staple. So there's the back. The sleeves are beautiful. I'm so happy to have this in my wardrobe. I've not really gotten to wear it a lot. I do actually still need to get finished object pictures. I haven't even done that, but the sweater itself is done. The ends are woven in, it's been blocked, and it's just been sitting here waiting for me to find the time to podcast, but also for cooler weather to come to get to wear this. But I did use yarn from my stash that I purchased at Rhinebeck 2024. I believe it was 2024. I know in past episodes I've talked in depth about the yarn, so you can go back if you would like to hear me chat about the sweater as I was working through it, but I will link the yarn that I used for it as well. I did knit either the 40 or the 44 size. That I don't remember. Like I said, I really had a very busy month of May. I need to update some Ravelry pages too. This will be one project that I need to get up on Ravelry very, very soon. Now, as the month of May has been so busy, I have really been putting most of my focus on one project. That project is in my Taylor Swift bag, which was made by Stitching Plaza. And so this is Art Yarn Flowers and Moonlight. It is a gradient stellina, and oh, you can see the stellina there. It just sparkles. And I have decided to work on the anthology throw, designed by Helen Stewart. This pattern was designed as an Advent project a couple of years ago, and this one very large cake of yarn has 1,093.6 yards. So it should be plenty. However, this is actually the first time I've taken the entire cake out to see what little bit I have left. So I'm thinking I'm soon going to be done, which is good because this is getting pretty large. So the blanket starts out with a center point, and you work increases all the way around and around and around. And I am following the pattern almost exactly as it is written. The rows tell you knit so many rows and then do this eyelet, and then knit so many rows and do this eyelet row repeat. And so many rows in this one, and so many rows in that one. And if I knit one more row, that's okay. If I knit one last row, that's okay. The intention is for this to be a baby blanket. I think we are definitely at that point of being large enough to be a baby blanket. So what I need to look at now is actually how much yarn do I have left to finish this project. And I have loved it so much. It has just been that mindless knit of long rows. Everyone who has knit this has said these rows here towards the end are long, and they are, but I'm not minding them. They have been this has been the project that I have needed to just focus on knitting and kind of tune out everything else that has been going on during the last month, but focus on creating such a beautiful project. So one more time. I love it. I think it is beautiful. So I want to have it done, ideally, by the 19th. That is when our granddaughter is due. It's 9 days. I'm not sure how many more yards I have left, so I'm going to weigh how many yards of yarn I have left. I'm going to knit one row and see how many yards that uses, and then I'm going to calculate how many rows I can actually knit of the pattern, and however many rows I could actually complete, that's what I want to have done, and then get the blanket blocked and ready to be gifted. I just got a low battery warning, so we are going to kind of briefly talk about the final project that I have been working on, and this has been my portable project that is living in my bag from Mrs. Brown's Bags, who I don't think makes bags anymore. And again, this is using the Dragon Hoard yarn Defying Gravity sock set. And one of the main reasons that I've used this is it was caked up. And I was in a situation where I was going to be out for the day, needed a quick project, and this is what I pulled out of my stash. So again, I don't have the Flegel Heel instructions memorized yet, so I went with a traditional top-down vanilla sock. I still used zeros, US 0.9-inch circular needles, 15 rows for my ribbing, 60 rows for the leg, heel flap, gusset, and I just finished the decreases. So this was my fun Hershey Park project yesterday. I knit the cuff on the drive, and I knit almost, I knit all of the leg, almost all of the leg in the park, worked on turning the heel flap in the car on the way home, finished the heel flap once we got home and started the decreases. So this was one day's knitting, give or take an hour. Really, really happy with that. Not a normal day of knitting for me. I don't usually have the whole day to knit during the week, but I took PTO, we went to Hershey Park, and this was the project I took with me. We do go through security gates when we get to the park. I don't have any issue with my needle going through it. I don't take scissors or snips or anything like that into the park with me. I take the ball of yarn. And I leave the contrast color in the car. And that is what I do when we're standing in line. I will put a video in at the end my husband took while we were riding the Ferris wheel. I was working on the sock then, which was fun. For me, it is a nice way to take these little projects with me and knit my memories of my summer vacation into these projects. That is the knitting content for the episode. And I'm going to do a quick kind of life update, catch you guys up a little bit. Like I said on the last episode, I knew May was going to be very busy. We had school finishing, summer activities starting, auditions coming out. My daughter was auditioning for different dance things, summer musicals started, just all of the fun that she had going on that takes away from my knitting time of taking her from here to there and back again. Something else that I'm going to share here a little bit is I got some, news, health news in the beginning of May, which I was kind of anticipating, but just getting that news for real was kind of a shock. So I took, to say, time away from social media during the month of May because I was processing that news. Nothing that bad. Haven't shared it on social media, but let's go ahead and just say it here. I was diagnosed as pre-diabetic. So I thought I was eating healthy. I thought I was doing what I needed to do to take care of myself, and kind of wasn't, it turns out. So May, I really took a lot of time to just have that self-reflection, which is why that knitting in the round blanket was just what I needed. And it really just gave me the chance to refocus on what I need to do. It is a diagnosis that I was not surprised by because of some family history, and I know it's something that I can control. So I have been doing that. I have been putting myself in control more of me and my schedule and my activity level, and more conscientious about serving sizes and portions and calories and exercise, which is why the podcast has kind of fizzled away a little bit for the month of May. But I sat tonight on June 10th and updated our family calendar for the rest of the month, and it is so full. But thankfully I have 3 days, today, the day next week, and the day the following week, set aside for time for me to sit down and podcast and spend time with all of you, because I do enjoy this. This for me is so much fun. It is silly, it sounds, to sit down and talk to myself, but know that I am reaching an audience of friends and family who we care and we support each other. So thanks for sticking around during the breaks that I have taken over the past month and throughout the year, because life does get in the way. So that's kind of what's been going on behind the scenes a little bit. Other than that, everything else is great. We are so excited about summer vacations and activities. And if you stay tuned and subscribe to this channel, you will see how I fit all of the knitting into the adventures that we are going to have. So thank you all so much for tuning in for this episode. If you enjoyed the episode, please consider sharing it with your friends. It would mean so very much to me, and I will see you all again next week. Take care, guys, and happy knitting.